Sure.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Alex. Thank you so much. It's been a long time since the three of us have been together.
Good to join you guys.
Yeah, it is. It's been good. How are you, Alex? How have you been?
I've been well, Tom. How have you been?
Stressed? Yeah, that's a loaded question considering what we just said. Ladies and gentlemen, highest wit in geopolitics, my good friend Alex Krainer. I was just bitching about the entire world before we hit record. So,
yes. We'll be doing
setting
more
them
of
up
that.
and knocking them down, aren't you? So, Alex,
We'll be doing more of that, but with some analysis and commentary thrown in. I just got to say something for people watching. So first, it's Friday the 7th of November at 13 minutes to 8 p.m. UK time. We're starting this. And I just need to say something about Tom Luongo's meme. What it actually says, you are here paying taxes to pedophiles, which is the human condition, really. This was happening in the UK and the US and European Union and perhaps lots of other countries as well. We are here on this earth paying taxes to pedophiles. That's how it goes.
While being gaslit by morons. Never forget that.
While being gaslit by morons. That's right. And as they plan their cull of us as well. Okay. I'm going to start with Zohran Mamdani and his victory in the New York City mayoral election. And I didn't really look into him, didn't really pay much attention. I don't pay much attention to Sajid Khan in London, just a mayoral race, right? But when I started looking into him, I was like, don't know. He is pro-trans. He is pro-climate change. He seems to have come out of nowhere. He's very articulate, a great speaker, a bit like the new leader of the Green Party in the UK, Zach Polanski, who's all over the place, gets loads of coverage on mainstream media, Mamdani and Polanski, which is a little bit suspect. And if he does what he wants to do, or says he's going to do it economically, I think he's going to destroy New York City, unless, of course, Wall Street stop him from doing that. And that's reference to a really great podcast you did, Tom, with ODYSEE English. Fabulous, fabulous podcast. And I'll link to both your websites and all that business underneath. And people should follow you everywhere, both of you everywhere, right? And then he's very outspoken about Gaza. Okay, well, he's a city mayor, running for city mayor. He wants to talk about a foreign issue, fine. But why not Ukraine, Russia? That's also a major conflict. Don't Slav lives matter too? Which is an issue I raise with my cousins, who all support him. Many of them support him. And he's a Democrat, and he's not strayed from the Democratic agenda. Because the Democrats, they want war with Russia. They support the war with Russia. Well, that's not anti-war. Corbyn and Galloway and Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald, they speak out against both wars. So does David Curtin from the Heritage Party. So I don't trust him.
Really? What a shock! He has a resume that reminds me of somebody else.
Barack Obama?
I was going to say just Barry Soetoro. The only difference being that his dad was from Uganda as opposed to being from Kenya.
Both former British.
It's exactly the same. They're both constructs of British NGOs and MI6. And Alex Soros is, he's taking pictures with Alex Soros, and they're patting themselves on the back for creating a race in New York that was designed for him to win. He couldn't lose it because Andrew Cuomo was terrible, and former governors don't run for mayor of New York City in America. That's one. What are we doing bringing up Curtis Sliwa, the former head of the Guardian Angels? He's no. The whole point of this was to get rid of Eric Adams, and they were successful at that.
Traveling to a restrictive country with internet censorship? A VPN is the answer, and surf the internet with no restrictions.
Mamdani is he is one side of a current operation to split the center of the American electorate from the left. So he is the radical leftist.
Like Zach Polanski in the UK.
And Nick Fuentes and the Groypers are your radicals on the right. So you have your choice between the communists or the Nazis. And where do you go? That's what they're setting up. It's nothing new. And all of it is targeted at, destroying, just again, continuing to peel off bit by bit by bit of what's happening in the MAGA coalition. The goal here is always, is to split off Trump's, is to factionalize and split off Trump's support, because if so, what's the meme this week? I could have just said, you are here being gaslit by morons into believing that Donald Trump isn't doing enough, right? Yeah. Or that he's not focusing on domestic politics enough. Well, had he focused on domestic politics in 2025, they would be berating him about what was going on geopolitically. There is no winning here. There's just, you have one choice versus the other. So Trump used the 2025 to fix a lot of these British permanent wars, or permanent open sores, and now he has to now immediately shift into 2026 into going into domestic issues. Personally, that's the right order of operations. If you're Trump, right, use the 2025, use the odd numbered years where really people don't care, right? In America, they don't care about the New York election. They don't care about Virginia governor, right? They don't care about any of this stuff. And they do care about the economy. They do care that they want things fixed. But there's a growing thing here happening in the United States that, and I've been seeing it, and I don't really want to believe that it's as advanced as it is. But young men in America are ready for are ready to be radicalized into the new brown shirts, or whatever you want to call them, and that's the goal here. The goal here is to get them to not believe in anything. The goal is to believe that there's no way we can have any kind of rational response to this, but that the system doesn't work and needs to be torn down. That's it. Yeah. That's the game, and that they're playing, and that's why the government shut down. That's one of the reasons why the government shut down. I'll give you two others. That and if you start guessing about anything else, they all don't count. The other is stopping the Clarity Act, which creates a dollarization process to push the U.S. dollar and the U.S. Treasury market around the world and get around the payment rails that have been set up for CBDCs and all that slop, on the one hand, and to stop the Fannie and Freddie re-IPO in America, to stop Trump from actually being able to solve the housing problem. And then, of course, everything else is shut down. So now we can't deport the people that need to be deported. We can't stop any of the immigration. Like, it's all just being obstructed at every turn. And and then the British media does what they always do: amplify the nonsense, and it is all just nonsense.
Well, on that.
I mean, Trump was on January 21st, and everybody was screaming, "You haven't arrested anybody yet." I'm like, really? We're supposed to be arresting middle management without having with a Department of Justice and an FBI that's like on that are more treasonous than the CIA is? Really? Like, but no, again.
But Tom, so just on that, because I want to bring Alex in, right?
Sure, absolutely.
A point that Alex has made several times that I think also is happening with the election of Zohran Mamdani is getting the red ants and the black ants to fight each other.
Of course.
Divide and rule, stoke conflict between different groups.
Yes.
Don't mediate, don't have discourse. Let's just get violent because they're really bad, and the only way of resolving this is through violence. Alex, your take on Mr. Mamdani, and then take it wherever you want to go.
Well, again, as you said, he's very articulate. He seems convincing, but the picture with Alex Soros tells me everything I don't want to know about the man. And it's clear that this is a typical British Empire playbook, creating polarization, as Tom said. Communist left against reactionary radical right, practically exactly the same playbook that was played in the Nazi Germany. They brought, with the same capital, they brought communists from the Soviet Union, funded, by the way, by Western banking money through Germany, flown in or trained into Germany, and on the other hand, cultivating the fascist right, the Nazis, with exactly premeditated, deliberate intention of having them fight and create a siege mentality and a psychosis where everybody loses their minds, everybody loses their shit, everybody's ready to fight, or they just give up because they can't figure out how to fix stuff anymore, and so they just give up. They go passive. They go numb to the whole political process, and they feel like, well, everything's shit. Why bother?
And either one of those outcomes it works to their advantage. That's exactly what's going on.
And it's not either or. It could be both.
At the same time,
it could be both at the same time. Where, you have the fat tails of radicals on the left and on the right, and you have the middle of people who just don't even want to, are completely disengaged.
Mm-hmm. And then when the elections come around, they either don't vote, or they do vote and they just don't, they don't know what to do. They go, well, Trump's no better than anybody else. I might as well just do what I've always done, or whatever. And so it winds up being the exact that's the problem ultimately, because they know fundamentally that if they can move 5% of the electorate in certain districts, certain counties, certain places around the country, then they can sweep whatever they need to sweep. So this is why Trump immediately came out and said, okay, Mamdani in New York equals nuke the filibuster, or you're all going to jail. Like see, this is again why I go back to, why is Thomas Massie out there screaming about the Epstein files, knowing full well that whatever's in the Epstein files, Trump can still use as leverage. Also knowing full well, because we've had that that half of the information in there is probably not even true anymore, right? So you're dealing with this.
By that you mean that it's been tampered with?
It's been tampered with, absolutely.
And this would have been done. I think we had a
guy. Say we had Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate or whatever come out and finally say that they've got stuff that they had Epstein add stuff to his his little black book or whatever in his handwriting. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
just to back that point up, right?
Sure.
That the Democrats had it Biden had it throughout his term, right? And we're talking about the same agencies that came up with the complete nonsense Russiagate coup.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't it? It's beyond the bounds of. Is it beyond the bounds of possibility they would have tampered those files, given what they did with Russiagate?
Rich, are you kidding? No, never. Everybody is. I'm trying to do the Alex Krainer dry wit thing. It doesn't really work very well coming out of my mouth, but I'm trying. No, what are you saying? That they're corrupt? I'm getting the vapors over here. Oh my God.
Alex, do you want to come in? You don't have to, by the way. You can just stay.
I don't know what to think about the Epstein files. I still think what I thought from before they became a thing. That is, from before Trump seemingly betrayed his basis, which he didn't really, because he was always a little bit ambivalent. He personally never said, oh yeah, we're coming out with that. That's going to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, yeah, we might, he wasn't saying no, but he wasn't exactly saying yes either. And then the Epstein files themselves, if you're in power, they are a source of very powerful leverage that you can use against your political opponent, which, if you make them public, might not work to your advantage anymore. You might not be able to use them at all. So it's like wet gunpowder, no use.
Right.
And the idea that these files would serve justice to the victims of Epstein, to me, the best case is Virginia Giuffre, no?
Virginia Giuffre.
Virginia Giuffre, yeah. So she's dead. Her abuser, Prince Andrew, is a free man. How, and she had a very strong case against him, so strong that he had to go and settle it out of court. Meaning she had him busted, but she's dead now, and he's a free man. And the reason is because we don't have a proper justice system. We have a two-tier justice system where Prince Andrew can do anything he likes and never see a day inside of a prison. And if you're an ordinary person or a child who's been trafficked and abused, nobody cares about you. And if you're dead, they don't lose any sleep over you. You can be unalived at a whim. So
Yeah.
therefore, I think that the Epstein files are much more useful in fighting the political fight.
Or
Now you have to,
like getting Bill Gates to think again about climate change.
for example, but there's been a
Or,
number of
I mean,
things
there's so
that,
many different ways that that Trump has Gates said the rights, but yes, it's one angle on it.
yeah. So I don't have very strong, passionate feelings about the Epstein files in the sense of how do you say that I feel a sense of betrayal from Trump over them not publishing the files. And by the way, those files have been leaked out completely. His not completely all the intelligence files, but his whole black book. So if you wanted the list of his clients, his whole black book has been scanned and leaked out. It's out there. I've seen it.
Yeah, not all clients, by the way, but the people in his black book and his contacts. Yeah,
Yeah, and ultimately, and even then, like the whole point of Epstein wasn't the whatever operation he was running later about trafficking children or anything else. Ultimately, it was about the money laundering, about setting up the Clinton Global Initiative and all of these other NGOs and all this stuff. That all that stuff was done, and then it's very credible to. I'm not trying to like whitewash the Mossad being a part of this or this one. No, the intelligence agencies needed to move money around, right? NGOs needed to move money around, and Epstein was the one who set up all that stuff. And you can fill in the blanks as to who he was doing it for, and you'll probably be correct, like a Mad Lib. And if you throw all of these different people into who is Jeffrey Epstein setting up accounts for and moving money for, you're gonna be everybody's gonna be correct. It doesn't matter whether you're more correct because he set up 6 accounts for the Mossad versus 3 accounts for the CIA and two accounts for the 2 accounts for the Clintons. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But that's what the conversation has devolved into, right? I need to be right about this, or you're whitewashing this. I'm like, no, I'm not whitewashing anything. I'm like, that's what this story was about, and we're all focusing on the child trafficking, which is the distraction ultimately, which is probably a thing that Epstein did after he was done doing all the work that they paid him to do in the first place. That's more credible that that's what happened because the guy was just sick, right? And then was running his own independent operations or, semi-independent operations with different people afterwards. And look, at the end of the day, none of any of that stuff matters. But of course, the sex and the child trafficking and the discuss circuit stuff is what sells. And of course, it's easy to take conservatives, generally speaking, and get them, angry when it's about something that goes directly with that hits their discuss circuit. Libertarians and liberals in general have a much higher tolerance for aberrant behavior, for lack of a better term. I even have to put
the trans agenda.
Any of it doesn't matter. Like in general, these people can be sheep fuckers. It doesn't really matter. Like we're talking about, they have a higher tolerance for this kind of thing than conservatives do. That's pretty well established. So that's why nuts and sluts work so well on the quote unquote right. Okay, it's so easy because and so that's beyond the pale. That's why, but it's also why. But over the course of time, of course, as I said years ago during the Kavanaugh fight, we were discussing the whole Christy Blasey Ford and Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. They were trying to nuts and sluts him with the gangbang stuff. I said back then, look, 40 years ago, all they had to do was intimate that Gary Hart was having an extramarital affair, and there goes his political aspirations. And 40 years later, in the Steele dossier, Trump has to piss on a hooker. Right, you can't, and then Brett Kavanaugh, you can't just have him be, some guy who, who was a member of a frat house, but when he was a kid, and then we have to turn it into a friggin' 40-year-old gangbang that nobody can remember any of the details of. Like it's behavioral heroin in that respect, right? You have to, once people get used to extramarital affair, then it's got to be this, then it's got to be this. In order to get people's attention, now we're up to the point where it's Trump pissing on a hooker in a Moscow hotel room. And so Epstein is the pinnacle of that. It's really the apotheosis of the whole nuts and sluts thing. I mean, the whole nuts and sluts, like, what's the technique, right? I mean, where are you going to go from here? Big child trafficking sex ring. Where are we going to go from here? Like, think about it. Like, so as always, when you're watching these types of assets being burned for political advantage when you reach that level, when you've reached the nuclear option in this respect, right? Financially, it used to be SWIFT. 15 years ago was when Obama went after UBS for their Nazi, for laundering Nazi money, right, through their privacy, forcing open Swiss banking regulations back in 2010. Jim Sinclair called that the nuclear option back then, right? Once you go nuclear, you can't back down. Like, you can't lower the stakes, because if your bluff is called when you've gone nuclear, like, then what? What do you got left? You can't go any farther. You've already blown up your entire. You've already used the ultimate weapon. Like, what's left now? Oh, we're going to destroy the universe. Like, you've already like brought the Death Star in.
Yep.
Like, now what? So.
Okay. Well, enough of that, of Epstein. Moving on. I don't know if we should stay domestic U.S. or Europe.
Domestic. I think domestic U.S. is still interesting.
Yeah.
Because of the shutdown is so very important. Because I think it ties into all the geopolitical stuff. Trump's done a wonderful job, I think, on geopolitics this year. If we're if this is our last or second to last cast for the year, right? He was right to knock down all of these permanent City of London, what's the word I'm looking for? Perma conflicts, right? Nagorno-Karabakh, right? Thailand, Cambodia, the ones across Africa, right? The big ones, obviously, Israel, Iran, and now, Israel, Gaza, at least the beginnings thereof. Like, we can start to see, like, he did the right thing by taking this year to do that, and then unfortunately having to neglect the domestic policy side of things, but Congress was always going to obstruct him the entire time. So now the question is, are we going to go into 2026? And I don't have an answer for you, by the way, with him being able to, turn the tide on this. I don't know. That's actually what we're all really worried about. After Tuesday's election cycle, after Tuesday's election results, 2026, as of right now, is looking pretty grim, unless they start resetting the operational tempo, because I think the Trump administration has lost operational tempo at this point.
Alex?
I don't know. I think it's early days. I think things may look grim for Trump at this moment with regards to, midterm elections, which are completely pivotal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like make or break of everything, pretty much. But we have to remember that generally the public has a fairly short-term memory when it comes to, policy, public affairs, stuff going on. A few weeks from now, maybe not so many people are going to be talking about Mamdani, about this or that. So if Trump scores some visible victories and successes in policy, whatever that may be, this might be completely reversed. I remember when George Bush Sr. went into Iraq and scored this shiny victory against Saddam Hussein, kicked him out of Kuwait, practically destroyed his army. And of course, this was covered in a very gloating way by the American press. And everybody was assuming that he would be a two-term president.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Saturday Night Live making fun of other politicians who kind of didn't want to run against George H.W. Bush because they were certain that they would get beat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lost because the effect of that victory by the, it all kind of dissipated. The moment dissipated and he ended up losing. So we'll see. I think that things could turn around, and I would agree with Tom that as far as foreign policy is concerned, Trump has done some tremendously important positive things. To appreciate that correctly, you have to not listen to Trump antics on stage, things he says. because the statements he made about Venezuela recently, the statements he made about Nigeria recently, are almost, you're like, surely this must be AI. Surely he didn't say that exactly like that, did he? And then you realize, yes, he did. And you think like, but why? And I don't know why, but I have to ask myself, are they that stupid? Or is there a reason why that is not clear to me? It's not clear to anybody else either, because everybody's like, what the hell is going on? You know, people are grappling for an explanation. You ask 10 people, you get 10 opinions. But I think that there is a reason, and because the alternative would be to say that they're stupid, that they're idiots, that they are completely tone deaf. Uh, Looking at their accomplishments rather than at their rhetoric, I can't reconcile the idea that they're stupid, because they're not. And there's stuff going on that is not being discussed, but it is being done nevertheless. I'll give you a concrete example.